on moving down the list, today's edition of Fairleigh Dickinson's Ansley Almonor, a kid that, I think that the order of operations is pretty interesting because Kentucky is all out, going all in on Jackson Robinson of BYU and Chaz Lanier of North Florida. Those are the top two guys, neck and neck, pushing all your chips in there. So you were wondering, the way Mark Pope had been talking about filling out this roster, he had kind of said, we're going to try to add two quickly in the next couple of weeks and then have a 13th floating piece for that last scholarship spot. However, Cody Feger said, we're going to use that 13th spot. No matter what, this is going to be a full 13-man group, which is news. We were wondering that, asking those questions a couple of weeks back, Sean, as things were kind of ramping up with new additions kind of by the day. We got confirmation there will be 13, but I kind of had a hunch that a guy like Ansley Almonor would be kind of that 13th floating guy. I love him. I think he's a great addition, but I thought they would do whatever it took to land the first two first, or one or the other, or however you can land them. I thought that would be the top priorities, to kind of hold some guys in your back pocket, keep some seats warm. Very clearly loved this kid, thought the visit went extremely well. I'd heard on my end that this kid had been dreaming of playing at Kentucky, had pretty solid offers elsewhere at the mid-major level to be a star with really solid NIL money. But once this call came from Mark Pope, it was game over. He wanted to be at Kentucky, no questions asked. It kind of fit the exact mold that you look for with what Mark Pope said at his introductory press conference. You want those types of guys to be around your program, so you bring him in for what he brings to the table, as knowing what his role is going to be as the backup stretch four. All it took was a competitive offer. Just make it interesting for me. And that's exactly what Kentucky did. I heard that he's going to make a solid amount of money to be a backup for stretch four at Kentucky. That's the exact type of guy that you want to sign up to be your 11th man, a guy who's signing up for a very specific role that fits Mark Pope's offense to a T. I could not be more pleased with the offense, with the addition of Ansley. The timing is what is more interesting to me, Sean.
Yeah, I'm with you on the timing. And what's the total number of made threes this last season? Was it like 91, 92?
93.
So between him and Kobe Bray, that you're talking about dudes that have right around the century mark and made threes, in a season. Like guys that have proven they can make shots. And when you watch him and you turn on the tape here, it's the ability to slide off the basketball and put himself in position to take and make shots, like at a high level. Like that is what Mark Pope is piecing together with this roster, is shot makers, guys that can stretch the floor, space you out. I think his size is important here, about 6'7", the ability to step out, shoot the three, play that stretch four that you talked about in a backup role. And that's something, look there, that's against some zone. So you got zone busters. I mean, you got guys that are going to make you pay. Always hands ready, shot ready. When you see it, that form looks good, Jack. Like that's a guy that's going to play a key role and put a ton of pressure on you defensively off the bench, or whatever role it ends up being when the season gets started. But there's one thing that I look at when it comes to how you add transfers in the transfer portal era, and especially at Kentucky, since this is going to be a thing that we're going to have to monitor moving forward, even more so this year with a whole new roster overhaul and things. Are you consistent? In which direction are you consistent? Because you can be consistent in the wrong way too. But his numbers over the course of his career, Jack, are not just consistent, they're consistently good. And they consistently stay around a certain number, but they also, some areas also progress and get better. And like when you're talking about three-point shooting, 34.3% in his first year of college in limited opportunities, 38.1 from three the next year on 197 three-point attempts. Number climbs to 39.4 this year, and he took 236. So shot volume goes up, shot three-point percentage goes up. That's a good sign at this point in your career. Free throw percentage too, 86% free throw shooter a year ago, 80% this year. That's another area where you can contribute and make shots and get points. So turnovers a little high, I think, is an area that maybe stands out about his game, that for that position, you don't want to see a guy turn it over 55, 60 times a season if you're not a primary ball handler. That's probably something that can probably be reined in a little more when it comes to more ball dominant guards that Kentucky will have on the perimeter, the 1, 2, and 3. But overall, I think you look at this is a play that makes sense, especially if it's in a role coming off the bench. Like, you can't ask for more than a guy that can be a 40% 3-point shooter coming off your bench and at the volume that he takes shots. Like, this is a good fit. I feel like all the pieces here, and you brought it up earlier, the star's missing. Like, who's the star? And I think that's probably the reason you're seeing some people out there hold off on what they expect Kentucky to be on the high end. You see them. Are they even a top 25 team to some? No. Some probably have them there. Some people don't even have them in the top 30. I don't know if that's just erring on the side of caution when it comes to what this thing can actually look like, but there's a lot of proven guys that have played a lot of college basketball that have success, that you blend this thing together, and this could be a top 15 basketball team if it all comes together, even if it doesn't land the star firepower. The system itself is what's going to create and make Kentucky. But the system has to have pieces that fit and don't disrupt. It fits. The only concern I would have if I'm Mark Pope is keeping all these pieces happy, because you're mixing in a lot of dudes and a lot of new roles that are used to kind of being different pieces in their other programs. Those are conversations that I'm sure have already been had. And if you come in with expectations and maybe you outperform those, that's a good thing. That's probably the challenge when it all comes together, though, is how does it all fit? But on paper, it looks like it does. It's just, can you get it all to fit when it matters most? I would trust this staff to do that.
And like Keith Shanks asked in the chat, Sean Wood says, no way this team can meet expectations due to high number of transfers. Your thoughts and regular season record predictions? Obviously, I don't think we're ready to give a regular season prediction until we know if we can add the stars they're looking to add, because that completely changes what the floor and ceiling look like. But I guess to address the first part, I don't know if there are expectations yet. Like, I don't even know if you could look at this team right now and say, I'm expecting them to go to the Elite Eight. Like, well, what are you basing that off of? I don't expect them to make the NCAA tournament. Well, based on what? This is a brand new coach bringing together 13 new pieces that haven't been here the year before, that have never played for Coach Pope, Jackson Robinson being the only exception if you are able to bring him out of the draft. You have there is no expectation right now. You are going in based entirely on hope